What's up, people? One Nut Punch here. 1.0 hit today, December 13th, 2023 for Ready or Not, and they added Commander Mode, and they took all the maps and they turned them into missions. So when you go on and play the game, there won't be like an entire area of maps to go and like play Port Hoken or the Cheyenne Farms, but rather they're missions that you have to unlock later the more you keep doing it. The other thing was they added some of the new guns that you did not see from the standard mode that were probably in the supporter edition. The MCX assault rifle, the LVAR, which is a silenced rifle, kind of like the Honey Badger. Then they had the F90 assault rifle, the Supernova shotgun, UMP9 SMG, TLE 1911 pistol, the TPL less lethal launcher, the X2 taser, and they overhauled the breaching shotgun and the 45 SMG, as well as the 45A1 pistol, and did some other things for the tutorial. The other thing that they did was which they mess around with the AI of the game, your AI party members, and they don't really necessarily need you to tell them where to go or what to do. For example, if you want to get a gun that's currently on the ground that the suspect dropped, they'll walk over to it and actually put it inside of a bag. If you want to get a suspect to be arrested or a civilian get arrested, they'll just walk over to them, tell them to turn around, and then arrest them. The other thing I wanted to show off was the new shooting range, because it's not like the same one where you go down, there's like wooden walls, and then it's like a couple of targets. It looks like an actual shooting range to where you have metal walls on the side of you. You could press the arrow to go backwards for farther range shooting, and then bring it back to you to see what bullets it where. So I was just kind of showing off what it would look like in that place. Then when you're done messing around with the shooting range and seeing the guns on the walls, you can go find the briefing room, which is essentially by the main lobby, and that's where you would go and do the missions. When you get inside the briefing room, you'll see a table, and on that table will be essentially where the missions are. There's Thank You, Come Again. There's another one which is the Spider, and then they have Twisted Nerve. But like I said earlier, when it came down to the missions, they took all the different types of map locations and turned them into missions instead. The only issue I have with this specific mechanic is that every time the mission is over, you have to come back to the headquarters, find the briefing room, and then go. Instead, they used to have a try again button, which is if you lost the mission, you could just play again with whatever loadout you had. That is not in the game. That was taken out. So I'm hoping that maybe that could be brought back, or it was a mild annoyance I had, because every time you were done with the mission, you went back to the police station, you had to go walk around and find the place, then you had to wait for the cooldown timer to go down, and then you started over again. After maybe about 5 or 6 times, I kind of got annoyed because I had to keep doing it over and over and over again. When you get into a mission and you start the game off, you'll have different commands that you can go ahead and tell your guys what to do. For example, gold is everybody, red and blue are the different teams, and gray is the actions. So for example, you want to restrain somebody, that's essentially what it is. If you want somebody to pick up something or put them in evidence, that's also what they can do. Then you have the different suspects you have to deal with. Not every single one of them is the same. They look a lot different in comparison to the early access. For example, a lot of them had like hoodies, some of them had balaclavas, others were like just wearing fatigues. This is like everybody's different. You have junkies that actually look like junkies with shredded shirts and like grizzled faces. They look like they're just deteriorating over time. Then you have a lot of the like crazy fanatics with heavy machine guns and pistols. Sometimes they'll lunge at you with a knife and stab you, or try to shoot you with a gun. Then you have the different suspects, or rather the contacts you have to get that are like priority targets. Sometimes they'll shoot you, and if you shoot them like once in the leg, they'll drop down faster because obviously they're wounded. Or you just have to shoot to kill, because a lot of times I've been killed by people just shooting me and spraying me in the face. On that same note, when dealing with the AI, they're pretty unpredictable now compared to before, where they would just walk around, they would go from one spot to another, or they'd just sit in place. This time they will go and investigate areas that they hear like gunshots. They'll spray through the wall. They'll be able to put traps down and wait for you. Like for example, I go up the stairs to the roof here and I'm getting into a firefight. All of a sudden when I'm going and checking the officer that got downed, an AI party would come up the stairs behind me and spray me through a wooden wall, and I wouldn't even know until I was dead. On the side note, when it comes down to your AI party, your characters aren't really stupid, but they're actually not that good either still. For example, there are issues to where you're trying to tell your team members to stack on a wall and breach it. They'll just stand there and look at it like a deer in the headlights, or they'll like do a motion and they'll keep constantly doing it, try to enter the doorway. Or if they're trying to follow you, they'll get stuck and then you'll have to back up to have them find you and then come to you. So I'm hoping they improve upon that later, because that was a real hassle trying to come up these stairs, get into a huge firefight with 3 or 4 suspects, and then be able to die by myself because they would not come up and help me. And the only time they would do it is if I went in first, killed out 2 guys or 3, and then be able to kill maybe the last guy with using them. It was also obnoxious trying to play this because when it came out of release, I was having FPS issues going from 120 down to 25 FPS, and I have this set to low settings. So hopefully that's also fixed later on, because it is obnoxious trying to play this game, seeing all the nice like colors, all the bright stuff, like all the different items like pill boxes, alcohol bottles, or whichever, and then my screen or game would just go super low. Another thing they decided to add in this game was that if you want to see what your tasks are, you have to press the tab button, and when you do this, you pop open like a screen, looks like a phone, on your chest. And on here will be different mission objectives and what you have to do in terms of the actual mission. For example, they have a mission briefing I'm going to have people listen to here right now.
So, if you guys haven't been told yet, CID finally received the decrypted metadata from those marked MindJot drives that we seized a week or so ago. The data from the images on the drives corroborates information our guys have put together on a small operation running out of the row. We're heading over to 7408 Martinez Boulevard with a warrant for the arrest of George Brixley. Current intel, our target has a prior conviction for kidnapping. Did some time in Leavenworth, about 3 years. He also has a prior felony for conspiracy and sexual assault. He's not going to want to go back to jail.
As you heard from the mission briefing and what it said on the tab there, if you need to know what you're trying to look for or what you're trying to do, press the tab button and that will pop up. A couple other things I forgot to mention. For example, they have Iron Man mode inside this game, a permadeath style option for hardcore players. Once you're dead, your save is deleted. There are cosmetic rewards from completing this mode. They have an exfiltration mechanic. In order to quit a mission early without incurring as much stress to their officers, players must exfil from their spawn point, being sure to first backtrack safely. Another thing about this game is that your officers will develop stress. And the more stress that they have, they're going to either leave the team entirely or have a mental breakdown and not be able to perform their duties. Specifically, the stress system says a metagame stress system that punishes the team for acting outside of the use of force continuum or otherwise putting lives in danger. Officers at high stress will have to be benched and put on therapy or be at risk of leaving the team permanently. They also have 12 different modifiers for the different officers. For example, I had Intimidator for one of them, which says that if you have to tell somebody to get down, that'll be less amount of times to scream at them to get down, and they'll be able to kneel down and then arrest them if you really have to, instead of screaming it 7-8 times or having to throw a flashbang at them so that they actually listen to what you're doing. But in closing, before the video ends, I wanted to say that for right now, I do have issues with FPS problems. I do have some dips here and there. I do have some issues with the AI and stuff. I mean, there's also some rubber banding things happening. It's not really a perfect launch, but it's a lot better than what it was when it was in early access. So hopefully they'll add more hotfixes later and maybe even improve upon it as time goes on. That being said, I've been One Nut Punch and this has been another video. I got some other stuff to work on for the year 2024, but I'm glad that Ready or Not came out of early access because I hope they do more with it as time goes on. Anyway, thanks again, and I'll see y'all later in the next one.